Hi Tim, this is block number 9 for my practicum. And I'm just looking over some of the notes for this week that we're supposed to talk about. Analyze practicum experience, reflect on progress of ePortfolio, reflect on PD development or involvement. So, as you know, I've accepted a long-term occasional contract at St. Andre Bessette as of last week. So all of last week was my first week teaching. And I just want to highlight, today is the 29th. I just finished recording one of my critical reflective journals for Darren. And I thought while here, it'd be a really good time to shoot this video because of the content of it this week. Analyzing my practicum experience. I gotta say, when I was at STA, there was so much that Joe DiTrolio taught me in terms of how to handle a classroom that I think really benefited my development, my growth. He really exemplified that whole building a bond between yourself and your students and when to properly utilize discipline, corrective measures, humor, friendships, and collaboration. Like, he mixed it all in there, and the timing was always spot on with him. And I'd like to say that's because it's 4 years of teaching, and it's some of the teachings that were provided to us at Windsor. But I can't help but wonder if it's just who he is as a person, and it's just who his moral fabric is, in the ability to recognize what kind of actions are needed in certain situations. I had 3 associate teachers, I think that came in super beneficial to me because I did get to experience 3 different ways of class management, 3 different ways of teaching, 3 different ways of completing projects, 3 different ways of assessing, all those kind of things. I had 3 different ways. But in terms of critical issues emerging from my second month, the one thing that really stood out to me at STA was their whole inclusionary policy, kind of a smoke and mirrors. It was there just to satisfy the agenda. There really was no actual appetite to promote inclusion and diversity, and I was really upset with that. Now, on the flip side, St. Andre Bessette, part of the appeal to taking this LTO was I'd actually researched their school a little bit, and they are pretty big on promoting inclusion and diversity, and I wanted to see firsthand if that was actually true or not, because I've been questioning whether or not being in the Catholic school board is the right decision for me. When I got there, I've seen nothing but inclusion and diversity symbols, signage, all over the place. I have my own mailbox now, and right beside the mailboxes the other day were a stack of inclusion posters that we could put up in our classroom. So I grabbed one and I actually brought it into my classroom, and I talked to my class about how much I value inclusion and diversity in my classrooms. And I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before, Tim, but I've actually marched in London Pride several times. I've built floats for London Pride, and I brought to London its very first ever BIPOC crosswalk. I think it's probably the only one in southwestern Ontario, if I'm not mistaken. So these things are pretty high on my agenda, and I was talking in Darren's class about this. We had to do a TTI survey, and apprenticeship was one of the things very high on my list, whereas social issues were very, very low on my list. But I've recognized since completing that survey that social issues are very much the fabric of who I am, not only as a person, but as an educator. And it's made me really rethink who I am, or who I want to be as an educator, where my values actually lie. When I was at STA, I wasn't going to sit there and complain to anybody about the fact that I felt it was uncomfortable, some of the feelings expressed from other teachers, and it's not just the technology department. That's not even really where it was stemming from, because the technology teachers were pretty great, but it was just the common theme around the school that I was uncomfortable with. And I wasn't about to come and complain to you. I wasn't going to complain to my host school. I was just going to put my head down and get through my time. But it was getting harder with every passing day. So when this opportunity came up, I had to jump on it. Whether I was ready for it or not. It's a sink or swim moment for me. And like I said in my previous entry to you, Tim, while I still have a direct line to you and to my colleagues, it was very important for me to experience this myself and lean on these supports if needed. But one weekend, Tim, I've taken those lessons from my practicum that I learned at STA, and I gotta say, I am a much more confident person than I was when we were first in Windsor together. I actually have no issues running a classroom, and I think it has to do with the amount of respect I show for my students. I've had a lot of one-on-one discussions, because that's one of the things Joe DiTrolio taught me, is there are times when you need to address someone in front of the class, and there are times when you need to address somebody individually, and you need to pick those moments. You need to pick your battles, and I think those are the teaching moments. It wasn't the art of teaching; it was the art of dealing with people. Like, students are not commodities. Like, they're actually living, breathing human beings with thoughts and feelings. Reflection on my e-portfolio. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's a pretty damn good portfolio. Short of some reference letters, which I'm supposed to be getting a reference letter from Peter Fragascatos, who's a Liberal MP that I've worked with in the past. I recognize that I need some kind of teacher references to add to my portfolio, and that will come in time. I'm hoping to have something prior to December. And as far as adding more artifacts to my portfolio, I'm not entirely sure what else to add at this point, Tim. I think my resume and my philosophy are quite well written that are on there. I feel like I have more than enough of my credentials included in my portfolio. I have testimonials. I have links to my YouTube. I have blogs that I've written, work that I've had published in magazines. I really think it's just adding more artifacts at this point. And I know I have until the end of March. That's why I'm not asking for it to be a final evaluation applied towards it, because I know full well it's going to come back with some kind of feedback that suggests that I put more effort into it. So that's one thing I've learned from you, Tim. If you think it's enough, it's still not enough. So I'm going to keep working on it. Reflect on PD involvement during the second month. Now, I'm going to presume this is more than PD days. And I'm thinking that you're speaking in a broader term of just professional development as a whole, in terms of myself. And while we're on that topic, and again, if you've been watching my YouTube channel that I have dedicated to technological education that I've set up for this program, you'll see that a lot of what I'm talking about today is going to mirror what I presented to Darren this week as well. But in terms of professional development, I've decided, as I've been accepted for an LTO in the transportation technology wing, that I'm doing a disservice to the students if I'm not making an effort to learn transportation technology. So I went up to Value Village today, which is one of my favorite places to shop, by the way. I just love finds at Value Village. And I picked up this behemoth. It is called Modern Automotive Technology. This thing is a Bible. It's humongous. And I've been leafing through it. I've been preparing my lesson plans for next week and using this to gain some research or knowledge in order to present the material properly and be able to answer questions. I also found this book. I think this was made in the 1860s. It's a popular mechanics book called Guide for the Saturday Mechanic. And I hope this gives me a lot of little fun service projects that I can work on with the students. A lot of my shell was kind of half built, but without any of the knowledge, because the teacher prior to me had been teaching technology for so many years, he didn't even have any lesson plans. So I've had to develop lesson plans as I go. So I kind of have a unit for every week, but I have to build on that. So I'm hoping to not only build on his units, prepare lesson plans, but I'm going to come up with some of my own lesson plans. And actually, one of the ones that I'm doing this week, and I'm not sure if I put it into the last video that I made you, is a welding project where we weld some legs to a seat that I got from the Skydome over the summer. It's a great little welding project. The kids are excited about it because it's sports related and it's a sports school. And I thought it was just a nice way to tie the welding project into an interest, which was sports. Additionally, because I've been struggling so much with a lot of the values of the Catholic education system, I went out today. I actually went to Mass this morning, first of all, but I went out and I purchased the Holy Bible, which they charged me $3.99 at Value Village for this thing. But I want to get a better sense of the Bible. It's been a long time. I was Roman Catholic. I went to a Catholic elementary school, but I have not really studied the Bible, read the Bible since I was young. And I've been struggling with a lot of my philosophy and a lot of my personal beliefs in terms of representing the Catholic school board. And I think doing a little bit of professional development on this and seeing where my views align and don't align will help me determine what I want to do moving forward. I'm going to complete this LTO. It ends in February. They've already offered me the second semester if the technology teacher who is on sick leave right now doesn't return. I personally do not want to do transportation technology for another semester. I would like to get back into construction. And by all accounts, St. Thomas Aquinas is sorely missing my energy, my personality. I'm not sure why, but, and I miss it there too, I really do. And whether or not these hours count towards my practicum, that's kind of out of my control at this point in time. And if I'm being totally honest, I really don't give a shit if they are or not, because finding out that they're about to shut down a program at a school and these kids are going to lose credits and some of them are in schism, this would dramatically affect them. And if I can play a part in making sure that happens where they get to complete their credit, then I'm okay with that. And I will figure out what to do for second semester. So, but that's where I am with my personal development. I'm trying to learn how to better prepare now. Now I have to do lesson plans. I've been thrown into the fire for that one. And I have a sneaking suspicion that when we come back in the second year, we're going to have to present you with a ton of lesson plans that we produced throughout the year. So I think it's time to get my ass in gear in terms of building proper lesson plans. But that's my personal development, is trying to educate myself in exactly what I am teaching. You know what, I've come to realize I'm probably going to get thrown into a lot of situations as an educator that I am not familiar with, that I am not comfortable with. And I can go through the motions and just stand in front of that class, or I can actually give a shit and learn something that I can be a resource, be useful, and help guide students no matter what situation I am. And if I'm being totally honest, the more that I learn about different trades, or maybe not even trades so much, if I learn a little bit more about religion, I might become more deployable down the road. And that's kind of what my goal is to, as you've seen, I'm a pretty proactive person when it comes to completing things, or at least I try to be. And I try to stay on top of the ball. So my personal development, it never stops. I'm always trying to find something else to build off of and build on. And I've got to squeeze that SLP into there somewhere now, and I'm hoping to do it over the Christmas holidays. But that is something else that I need to think about completing. I will tell you this though, Tim, and I don't know if I'm speaking loud enough, my dishwasher's been running in the background the entire time. You had warned us about taking out an LTO while we were in school, and that there'd be no sympathy for anyone that took on an LTO. And I'm starting to see why you warned us about LTOs, because it is an entirely different animal. There is a lot more than meets the eye when you are actually the one in charge. I don't have anyone to look over to my left or right anymore to help me out. In a moment, everything is on me. I can't be bailed out at this point. So it has taken a lot more dedication. It's taken time after school, staying behind. I now have to do cleanup at the end of the day. I have to take care of all those things that my associate teacher would do or that I would assist with. I now have to do those all on my own. And again, with the lesson planning and delivery and then the marking and then the sending reminders to students to complete their work and talking to other teachers and talking to the office, I've put a lot more on my plate. And I'm not complaining and I'm not whining. I'm pretty sure that I can handle this, and I'm pretty confident that I'll get through it with ease, hopefully. Because I'm relishing this entire thing. I'm relishing the moment. I like being saddled with tons of things to do. If I'm not active, if I'm not mentally active, I'm just wasting time. So I'm managing quite well, I would say. It's only been a week, but I guess in a few weeks maybe I'll say, holy shit, Tim, like, what the hell was I thinking? But I had a successful week, and I've dialed in quite a few of these kids in a matter of the 3 days that I've been on my own with them, the 4 days I've been on my own with them. I've helped iron them out into something moldable and workable. So I'm starting to ramble now. I love doing video blogs. I don't know if you enjoy them or not, but I find there is much more energy that I can share rather than me typing something on a screen for you to sit there and read. At least maybe you can, I don't know, chop some onions or something while you're listening to this. But I'm having a great time, Tim. I think my professional development is going quite well because it is self-led. Nobody's forcing me to do what I'm doing. I'm doing it out of a passion to learn. And I think that's the right reason to be doing it. As for practicum, I do miss having my mentors, that's for sure. But I'm also quite happy to be doing my own thing. That's blog number 9, Tim. I will see you on blog number 10 and look forward to sharing some more experiences with you in the future. Talk to you soon.